The NBA playoffs, well, they're in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com/UCSS and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So we're going to try out a new little segment. It's called Tell Me How. And basically, it's pretty simple. I give you an end goal, a prompt, and you guys have to tell me how we got to that conclusion. So, Dustin, we're going to start with you first.
Okay.
Tell me how Shedeur Sanders ends up winning the Offensive Rookie of the Year award for the Browns. Tell me how.
Well, it's going to be very, very, very simple. Shedeur Sanders is going to continue doing what he did in rookie minicamp, which is impress everybody. It's going to be the story amongst all the NFL headlines going into the regular season. Shedeur Sanders wins the starting quarterback job in Cleveland. Okay? And nobody's thinking that the Browns are going to be able to do anything this year. However, this guy comes in and he takes them to a 10-win season. 10 wins.
That would be sweet.
As a rookie. Very similar to what happened last year with Daniels in Washington. And he wins offensive MVP, rookie of the year, I should say. I don't even think the numbers would matter. I think if he starts the season and they win, like I said, 10 games, 9 games, whatever, push for the playoffs, and it's all everyone's seeing and talking about, I think that would put him in the category to win that award.
Bull, Jason, do you agree with Dustin? Is that the path?
I mean, that's the path, sure. He would have to have a great year and put up huge numbers.
I don't even know that the numbers matter. I think it's if he can get the team to. They won 3 games last year. If this kid comes in at quarterback, I know Jaden Daniels put up really ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
But if I'm not listen, you're not winning 10 games if he's not putting up at least 225, 250 a game.
No. But they got to win games. He puts up the numbers. I mean, if he averages 250 yards a game and throws 15 touchdowns and 7 picks, we'll all be celebrating, and he could win Rookie of the Year.
No
Absolutely.
doubt.
Do we all agree he's 4th right now on the depth chart? You still think that? I don't know that it matters on May 22nd.
Honestly, you want my opinion? I think Kenny Pickett's out of the mix.
Okay.
Wow.
So he's
Do you have inside information, or is that just opinion?
That's opinion. I have no more inside information with the Browns.
So you think he's 3rd?
I think that Flacco is going to be your starting quarterback going into this thing, unless there's a miracle in camp. And I think Gabriel and Shedeur are 2A, 2B.
If Shedeur would win the job week 1, that would be as stunning as anything else. I think, frankly. From where he's starting.
I think for us, maybe it would be. But
I think for them, too.
If I'd asked you before the draft, and the Browns, you're like, regardless of where they draft him at.
But I think
because there were people that thought that they would take him at 2.
Yeah.
Right, but the fact that they drafted another quarterback ahead of him.
Right. That's why I'm saying.
Yeah,
for Shedeur to leap him by week 1.
Yeah.
For Shedeur to blow him, if he has just a monster camp, joint practices, he's the best player on the field, great preseason, and wins the job week 1, that would be as stunning as anything else to me.
I would be pretty shocked if that happened.
I would too.
By week 1. I wouldn't be shocked if he played at some point in the season, certainly.
He better play at some point in the season.
If he's starting week 1, but I'd be shocked if either of the rookies are starting week 1 because neither one was drafted high.
I'll tell you one thing. Fans are going to want to see number 12 out there.
Yeah, they are.
That's true. That is 100% accurate.
There's not many guys that people would go out and buy a jersey for a 5th-round pick of a quarterback who wasn't even the first quarterback taken.
But a good organization doesn't let what the fans want.
But we're not a good organization.
That is certainly true. That is certainly true. All right, next, Mike.
Next up, Jason, you are in the hot seat. The Cavs win the 2026 NBA championship. Jason, tell me how that happened.
See, I think both of the ones that you gave me are fairly realistic. Like, I don't think these are outrageous at all. How the Cavs win the 2026 championship. So Mike calls me this morning and goes, so here's your scenario. You can be realistic with it. You can be zany with it. You can do whatever you want. So let's have fun with this one. So the Cavs win the 2026 championship. Dan calls Jimmy and says, listen, Give me Giannis. I'm going to give you
Yes.
Evan Mobley and Isaac Okoro and Dean Wade. You're going to have to take them, and I'll kick in $200 million for your stadium. So now you got Giannis in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then you call LeBron. You say, hey, come get one more. So now LeBron comes back as a league minimum guy because that's all they can afford. So now you got Giannis, LeBron, Donovan, Darius, and Jarrett as your starting five. That team's winning an NBA championship. Now, this is totally, like, I don't normally do this.
Yeah, that is very unlike you, Jason.
This is drunk and we're just having fun.
Yeah, drunken Jason. I like that.
A more realistic path is I absolutely, I think they could win it next year. I'm not out on this team entirely just because they lost in the second round.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Indiana and New York. One of those teams is going to the NBA Finals and very well could win an NBA championship. You can't tell me that the Cavs can't beat either of those teams. I refuse to believe it. Like I still say, I know what Indiana did last night. I know what they've done. If the Cavs were fully healthy, I still think they win that series. But at some point, you do have to look at the injury history and say, this is part of the DNA. Do we have the guys that are capable and willing to play through when they're not at 100%? And that's a factor in the conversation. But I still like this team. And Giannis could leave the East this summer. I don't think he's coming here. But if Giannis goes west, if I'm Giannis, I want to stay in the East. I want no part of what's going on in the West. But if you're Milwaukee, you probably want to send him to the West. So if Giannis leaves the East, who's the boogeyman in the East that the Cavs have to get through? It doesn't exist.
I just think, and obviously some of this is prisoner of the moment, but I just think the team is too soft. The injury proneness is a part of who they are. And I don't think without changes to the roster past the top two guys, they can win as is. They've given you no reason to believe that they can win when it matters outside of Donovan. And I just wouldn't trade Evan Mobley. Unless I could get Giannis, I would trade Evan.
I wrote about it the other day. The realistic path, how does this team win a championship? Evan Mobley becomes your best player.
Right. I read that article.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't become the best player,
then they
won't win.
They're not going to win. It has to be Evan.
I'm not as convinced as you are that he's going to reach this ultimate level.
They should get rid of Garland.
We've talked about that. But here's the thing, and I'm glad you brought that up because, Jason, you've said a number of times, well, there's not that much out there for Garland. If Garland is that good, why can't they get anything for him?
It's a very point guard heavy league.
Yeah.
A lot of good teams already have point guards.
Yeah.
So it's not. I mean, if there was one guy that I would pluck out this team, it would be Jarrett. But it's hard to come up with a match that makes you better with a team that would want that player. It's easy in fantasy world to come up with trades and to make trades, but it's a lot harder in the league when you have to match salaries with everything else. I mean, go through the list of all the top teams. Most of them already have really good point guards. So it just makes it a difficult match.
Is Chris Paul really the only old school pass first point guard left in the league?
Mike Conley.
And he's another really old.
He's old.
I mean, Conley was a rookie in 2006.
He was on Greg Oden's team, so.
If
still good.
Yeah.
If you replaced Darius Garland with Chris Paul, the Cavs better?
No. Like
they don't get
prime
any
Chris
scoring
Paul
from Chris
or like
Paul.
Chris Paul today?
They don't get any scoring.
Chris Paul today?
Of course Chris Paul today.
Yeah, no, they're not better. What kind of asinine question is that?
Because Mike, you're looking at this only with like who's the better player, not the better team.
So you mean the guy who's never won anything in his 57-year career is going to somehow make the Cavs, who can't win anything right now, better?
That's fair.
Yeah, he really laid in you
Is
there.
Chris Paul the reason that is it his fault that his team's
Chris Paul
on?
averaged 8 points and 7 assists per game and shot 42% from the floor this year.
I didn't realize
He's 40 years old,
he's
by the
old.
way.
He's old.
He's LeBron's
I'm
draft
desperate,
class.
guys.
But this is why.
That was a new level of desperation.
I'm sorry, but Darius Garland is not. You guys know this. You live it in La La with your basketball analytics. You know Darius Garland is not a winning player, and you will never win a championship with him as the key guy.
I heard the same thing about Kyrie, and then he hit the biggest shot of Cavs history.
He wouldn't have won shit without LeBron.
Absolutely not. But
He's
still
not
hit the
won
biggest,
anything without LeBron.
You're right, but he still hit the biggest shot in Cavs history.
Did.
So don't tell me that you can or you can't win with these guys. Yes, you can. I think you absolutely
But
can.
LeBron ain't walking through that door.
No, he's not. No.
Yeah.
That's why Evan has to be. And I'm not saying Evan is absolutely going to become that guy. I'm saying if the Cavs are going to win it, it's on him.
Who does he have to be? Give me the player comp that he has to be.
Anthony Davis.
Is he ever going to be that?
No.
Why not?
Because he's not Anthony Davis. He's a unicorn.
How many years into the league did Anthony Davis become Anthony Davis?
I mean, he wasted away in New Orleans for the first however many years of his career. He was in New Orleans for what, 6 years?
I don't know.
Anthony Davis year by year, and then we'll move on because we got a couple more of these. But he was, by his third year, he was really, really good. Third year, he was
Something about
averaging.
Mobley, it just doesn't click, and I don't know what it is. Everything he does, he makes it look difficult. I mean, he's so big, and I want him to be more skilled.
I think he's pretty skilled. I think he showed this year he's pretty skilled.
I just think he's too passive at times.
I'm not talking about him. Guy's an all-star. He's the defensive player of the year.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying he's
got
a
an
bad,
MVP vote. Who gave him that
I'm not
fifth place
saying
MVP
the guy's
vote?
a bad player.
I didn't look at the list.
But like you start
Did you
throwing
vote?
around Anthony Davis, like he's not Anthony Davis, man.
What did Anthony Davis average his third year in the league?
On a very bad New Orleans team. So
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
he averaged 25 and 10.
Yeah, it's not a fair comparison because they sucked and the Cavs. If the Cavs were a crappy team, he'd probably
Evan would
average
have better
25.
numbers. He'd have
They'd
bigger
be
numbers.
meaningless numbers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sick of Darius Garland. I want to move on from him.
All right, next one, Bull.
I'm
We're going to
move on
get
from
to
this
the
question,
next Tell Me How.
Or Mike insults me again with my Chris Paul comments.
Bull, tell me how the
Go ahead.
Guardians land a legitimate all-star caliber power bat to its lineup. And before you answer, I just want to make sure we're on the same page. Willie McCovey and Jamie Foxx have retired. You can't bring them into the
Did you
mix.
say J.D. Fox?
Jamie Foxx, they're retired. They are not eligible for this
Wise guy.
conversation. So, Bull, no, seriously, tell me, how do the Guardians land a legitimate power-hitting outfield bat to this lineup
So are we talking about this year?
this year?
They have to stop being scared. Let's face it. We have, to some degree, grandfathered in Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff as if they're great, so they can't be criticized. When the truth is, they've done a crappy job the last few years. And they've been bailed out by some overachieving. In certain spots, they got bailed out a few years ago by a bad division. This past, 2024, they got bailed out by some overachievements. But they don't spend money. When they have spent money in recent years, they've spent it poorly. When's the last guy they spent any money on that was a good player, that worked out well?
Encarnacion.
Worked out well.
That was a while ago.
That's my point.
I mean, they haven't spent a lot of money. Last year, they wasted it on Josh Bell. They wasted on Mike Zunino.
2 years ago was Bell.
2 years ago was Bell and Zunino.
Yep. Last year was Barlow.
Last year was Barlow, total waste. This year,
Santana
Seawald,
this year.
total waste.
Who hasn't been that good yet?
They spend money on Hedges. They have no money to spend. They spend it on a backup catcher. They spent on Carlos Santana. He stinks.
Encarnacion.
That's a
That's what
while.
I said.
They traded away Josh Naylor. And I said for the entire offseason, sign Gleyber Torres. They didn't sign him. He's been great for Detroit. Do you think you can use that bat in the lineup? Absolutely. He'd be hitting fourth or fifth for the Guardians right now. And if you had Josh Naylor and Gleyber Torres instead of Paul Seawald and Carlos Santana and Slade Ciccone, well, maybe the Guardians would be in better shape right now. So they got to stop being cowardly. They hold on to their prospects.
That's it. To me, that's
They
it.
hold on to their prospects. Most of them have not panned out.
Yeah.
Think about the trade value. If you go back 3 years or 4 years, trade value you would have had for George Valera. Now he has no trade value.
Yeah.
Trade value you would have had for Danny Espino. Now he has no trade value. Trade value you would have had for Tyler Freeman, who they traded for Nolan Jones. Trade value you would have had for Gabriel Arias. Now he has little trade, if any, trade value. Rocchio. On and on. All these guys they didn't want to trade when they could have gotten some legitimate players, and none of them are any good right now.
They couldn't make a decision on who was a core player and who was a trade piece. They could never decide.
That's right.
Partly because none of them were any good.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were struggling with. That's why they couldn't They couldn't separate them because none of them, it turns out, the Orioles have kind of gone through the same thing. The Orioles are stuck in that spot where they have all of these prospects.
And they should have traded for pitching. And now they have no pitching and they stink. And now the hitting's being asked to do too much and they're falling on their face.
To their credit, they did trade for Burns last year. But this offseason,
nothing.
They haven't done anything.
No.
And now they're fired their manager and the last place team.
And I'll agree with Ken. Big a controversy at our former radio station, 92.3 The Fan, as Ken Carmen and Anthony Lima on the morning show going to war with the midday show, Andy Baskin and Jeff Phelps.
Was it a pillow fight?
No, it was just Baskin was pissed off yesterday. But Ken is right, and I haven't said that very often. But Ken is right. Like, I'm not giving the Guardians credit for saving money. Like, we have a percentage of our fan base that, like, pumps their fist because the Guardians are fiscally smart. I don't give a crap about that.
Yeah.
And Ken was right on that angle. Like, okay, they saved money on Andres Jimenez, and he hasn't hit since the first week of the season. But you weakened your defense, and it's been noticeable this year. Their defense has been not as good as a whole this year, when that's been a staple of this franchise. You weakened your lineup by trading Josh Naylor. You know, and you didn't. Where'd you improve? All right, rotation may be a little better, but not significantly.
There's a lot riding on Ciccone because Naylor's having a big year.
Right.
Naylor's having a really good year for Arizona.
And I don't even want to hear about he would have walked. I don't care. I'm telling you, nobody's paying Josh Naylor a huge contract at the end of this year.
I get why they made the move. I told it, like, on a spreadsheet, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why they did what they did. I get the Jimenez thing. The reason why, first of all, I think they didn't sign Gleiber because they've already got 15 middle infielders.
But he's good.
I know.
He's a proven hitter.
I know, but I think they thought Bizana would be here by July or August. Obviously, that's not happening.
Yeah. No.
Bizana's not going to be here till next May.
Next May. Yeah, that's what I said yesterday.
Yeah, he's not starting the year on the opening day roster now.
And like
they can buy another year of service time. They keep him in the minors.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's what they love doing. They're probably high-fiving each other in the front office.
No, I don't think that.
But it seems like that way sometimes.
I mean, Bizana wasn't exactly tearing the cover off.
Like, why isn't Kafis in the majors?
Same reason Bobby Bradley wasn't in the majors.
I'm
just throwing that out there. Like Bradley, I remember Bradley's having monster numbers.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, call him up. When he came up and he struck out 15 times.
Then you find out.
Yes.
Then you find out. Let's go.
How much?
It's not like you have anybody like these guys are hitting.
I truly don't know. He came up as a first baseman, right? How much outfield has he played?
He's been playing this year. I don't know how much he played before.
That's what I'm saying.
Year.
Like, has it been all season long, or has this been the last 2 weeks? Because I think they're probably trying to get him a little bit more comfortable with the outfield.
I know since he's been in AAA, he's been playing the outfield. I think he played a little in AA, but I'm not 100% sure.
I mean, if he's comfortable in right field, yeah. I mean,
what do you got to lose?
I mean, well, you got to if Thomas is coming off the IL, you got to make a move there.
Yeah.
Who are you sending down?
John Kenzie and Will Brennan. Send them both down.
I would send them both down.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, DeLauder's on a rehab assignment.
Yeah, I mean, if the guys on the major league roster can't get it done, then give somebody else a chance.
I hope DeLauder's here by July. I think that's reasonable.
It should be. Will they do it? It depends how he performs.
We'll
if
see.
he's killing it in AAA, he should be here too. Let's go. If the guys who are here can't get it done, we've seen enough failure for these guys.
Yeah.
It's enough. It's time. So to get back to the original question, they got to trade prospects, and if that means they got to trade Chase DeLauder, I don't give a crap. Give me proven hitters. I'm sick of saying, well, I can't trade this guy. Well, most of your hitting prospects have not panned out. So don't tell me you can't trade Chase DeLauder or anybody else for a guy who's a proven hitter. If it's a proven major league hitter that has at least 2 years left on his contract and is not too old, then make a freaking trade. Now, I don't know if there's that many guys like that available right now, because you'd have to go to a bad team, and most of those teams don't have players like that. But if you could get Luis Robert, he's on a team control for 3 years.
Yeah.
I know he's struggling, but
I'd love to see Luis Robert in Cleveland.
And I don't care, whatever. Give up. I don't care what they have to give up. His price has got to be down a little bit.
All right.
I don't care if they have to give up their best pitching prospect, DeLauder. Let's go. Give me a proven hitter.
I like it, Bull. All right, Dustin, back to you.
Yes, sir.
Ohio State repeats as national champions. Tell me how we do that.
I mean, it's sort of a pretty simple math equation here. I mean, they don't even have to. I mean, they can lose a game or 2 in the regular season, and still you got to make the 12-team playoff. I mean, that's the deal. We saw what happened this past season. It was a disappointing loss to Michigan at the end of the year. It was a disappointing loss to Oregon early in the season on the road, and you still had a path once you got into the college football playoff. The team, I think Ryan Day, now that he has this natty under his belt,
all the pressure's off.
Pressure is off of him. Like, it is.
He'll still be there for the Michigan game until he wins that one.
Yeah. I mean, he does have him. He beat him one time.
That's
but
true,
I mean, listen. Here's the thing. I think that Ryan Day, as long as he coaches at Ohio State, will probably win another couple of natties.
I mean, Ohio State's got more money or as much money as any team in the country.
Yeah,
so
no, the playing field eventually will level with some of the NIL stuff. Is you'll get some. I think eventually guardrails will come on there, come on to the NIL stuff. But look, they're going to be fine. They got to find a quarterback. They got a couple of dudes competing right now. I'm not sure if it's going to be
what's the competition?
Lincoln or what's the other kid's name?
Mike?
Julian Sane.
What's that?
Julian Sane.
Julian Sane.
Where are these kids from?
They both were pretty good.
Are they transfers?
Sane was a transfer from Alabama.
One kid's a freshman.
And Lincoln was a 4-star recruit from like North Dakota, and then there's another guy in there that I'm drawing a blank on. It was St. Clair, the freshman, right? It's his name, Tavon St. Clair.
I'm not even positive. I know that in the spring game, Sane and Lincoln were the two kids that were competing, and both looked pretty good. Listen, our defense is going to be really, really good. Matt Patricia's already seems to be putting a nice footprint on the defense. Right. Caleb Downs is back. I mean, our defense.
Who's the running back this year? They have a clear number one guy or no? We're kind of out of college football mode.
You're asking me to go through the depth chart right now, and I don't even know who's on what
team.
They
always have good running backs.
Yeah,
I'm sure they got.
But they obviously lost their top 2 guys. So.
The point. The main.
You got the best receiver in the country.
The main point is, it's Ohio State. They're going to have a huge payroll for their NIL.
Yeah.
Their coach now doesn't have to worry about his job security.
Yep.
Regardless of what happens with the team up north.
That's true.
I mean, they're going to be in, whether they're the favorite or one of the top 5 favorites to win the national championship, they will be one of those teams for the next decade.
Yeah, 100%. All right, Mike, next.
Bull, you're back up.
Okay.
Tell me how the Browns have 3 skill position Pro Bowlers by the end of next season, the 2026 season. Tell me how.
I hope Jerry Jeudy's one of them. I hope he's in that conversation.
Yeah. Well, he could be, but
after remember the war last year over.
Oh yeah, and I was proven right once again.
He got a vote. You were literally proven wrong, considering he got votes.
No.
If he had a vote, we're not going to go back into it.
Well,
tell me how they get 3 skill position Pro Bowlers at the end of the 26 season.
Jerry Jeudy. So here's how it happens. One of the rookie quarterbacks, and I'm going to. I think when we think of skill position, we usually think running back, wide receiver, tight end, but I'll include quarterback. Obviously, it takes a lot of skill. One of the rookie quarterbacks becomes a star. Obviously, it would be an upset for a 3rd and 5th round pick, but we'll say Shedeur Sanders, because that's exciting, becomes a superstar as a rookie. Quinshon Judkins becomes a superstar as a rookie running back, rushes for 1,400 yards as a rookie. And then, because you don't have to draft a quarterback next year, if Quinshon Judkins is great and Shedeur Sanders is great, well, the Browns won't have as high a pick as I thought. But Jacksonville's going to stink because Trevor Lawrence is a fraud. And you're going to have their 1st-round pick, and with it, you will draft the next great wide receiver. And that's how you have your 3 Pro Bowl skill position players.
But I thought the question was for this year.
No, by the end of next year.
By the end of next year.
Okay. By the end of 26. There it is.
I had a different one for Bull, but he said he didn't like it. He liked that one better. So
What was the other
by
one?
the end of next
I don't remember.
season.
What was the other one again?
How they end up with 2 top 5 picks in this year's draft.
Yeah, I mean,
basically, how does
what's
everything?
there to discuss?
No, I just wanted you to
detail
detail and give people a map of what could go wrong for 2 different situations. But
yeah, well,
when you mentioned Trevor Lawrence, I saw something the other day. His numbers and Daniel Jones are almost identical.
really,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, like Daniel Jones, he's only had 1 good year.
But, I mean, when you think of Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones,
Oh my God,
you don't think of comparable quarterback
Even
play.
as disappointing as Lawrence has been, you would have guessed he's still been a lot better than Daniel Jones.
I'm telling you, I wish I'd have sent it to you guys or bookmarked it or something. I don't remember now where I saw it. But, freaky how close the
and
numbers
he's
are.
had pretty solid talent around them at wide receiver and running back.
Yeah.
You know, and tight end. They had Evan Ingram.
Yeah.
You know, so they've
point,
had good talent around them. But, you know, now he's got Travis Hunter.
Yeah, he better have a good season. They spent a lot of money and put a lot of pieces
Yeah.
around him
you
to
see people are
accelerate
knocking-
his growth and make him a franchise quarterback. It's
People
on
are-
him.
People are knocking
Not
it.
gonna what?
Travis's route running ability.
I hadn't seen that.
You've
no.
seen like clips on that? Like,
No.
not really a great route runner there.
No.
All right,
Well,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it pans out.
Yeah.
I remember people saying Jamar Chase had bad hands his first training camp.
Looks like they're okay.
Yeah. I remember people making a big deal because he had a lot of drops in training camp
Yeah.
that year.
And remember, he
Well, I
said
mean,
the
listen, if
football
you
was a
played
little
receiver
different.
in college, and now you get to the league. It's a little different with guys who are in your back pocket,
Yeah.
as opposed to running routes against a lot of zone coverage where there's not tight coverage. Yeah, you can get away with a lot more at college. So I think he'll develop. Dude, he's such a freak athlete.
Yes.
Like, just give that kid.
He'll be fine.
Yeah.
Can we
And
give-
everybody
he'll be
knew
fine. Can we
he
give the
had
kid-
things to learn.
Give the kid
Yeah.
more than like 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. It's
Jeez
off
Louise.
season rookie minicamp.
Yeah.
All right, last one, Jason. Tell me how the Guardians can catch the Tigers and repeat as AL Central champions.
I'll kind of touch on this a little bit with Bull's question about prospects and all that. I mean, there's 6 games out right now. I do think the pitching is turning a corner. Obviously, Gavin's last start yesterday was great. Bibby's been up and down. I think he's going to be fine. Ortiz looks like he's solid. He's going to be fine. They got to get more.
Lively had pitched great before he got hurt.
He did. You know, if you're counting on Bieber coming back July or August, you're just trying to stay within striking distance until you get David Fry back, until you get Shane Bieber back. Whether it's Kafis or DeLauder or one of these guys.
Or both.
What you can't do is this next 2 weeks are brutal. You can't be 11, 12 games out.
Well, how about if it goes the opposite way? They sweep a 4-game set for the Tigers. They're 2 games out.
They're 2 games out.
Yeah.
And now if you hold serve against the Dodgers, and even if you lose 2 or 3, you just don't get swept.
Yeah.
You're right in the mix. I think Detroit's playing above their skis a little bit.
They are. I agree.
I still actually think the Royals might be the best team in the division when they're healthy.
Detroit shouldn't be this good.
No, I mean it's
Not winning 2/3 of their games good.
Yeah, their bullpen has been really good. I don't think their relievers are as good as they're performing right now. Gleiber's been huge for them. Spencer Torkelson's been amazing for them. Baez has come out of nowhere.
He's back from the dead.
Is this sustainable?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Torkelson might be.
He might be. I
You
don't know
because
if
he
Baez
was obviously
is.
he was the first overall pick, but yeah,
So
I mean,
I think there's going to be some regression from Detroit at some point, but it's all these other teams that you got to get through too. It's
Right.
Minnesota. I've never been big on Minnesota. I've always been more of a Kansas City, but I mean,
Minnesota's not bad.
No, they're not, and
Yeah.
they're not 13 out of 14 either.
No.
I don't think they're that good. But I mean, Daniel Schneeman's your second baseman. He's your third best hitter right now.
Yeah,
How
third
is
best
that
hitter.
sustainable?
No,
So,
definitely not.
Yeah, so I think that they do need to make a move at the deadline if they're really going to stay in the division rate. There's a difference. There's a different conversation, wild card and division. To run down the division, they probably need to add another hitter. But maybe Fry and some combination of DeLauder and Kafis. Really 2 bats. If you get 2 legit, and Lane Thomas coming back as well, I should have mentioned him. If you can get 2 more legitimate bats, I think this lineup looks much different than it does right now. It's not out of their own possibility, but I think the next 2 weeks really could play a key role. Again, wild card conversation is totally different than the division.
Yeah.
But if you're 12 games out,
then you're
middle
probably
of
not winning
June,
the division.
you're probably already buried.
Do you want to spend a few minutes talking about how great Matthew Boyd has been this year?
Good for him. Good for him. He's been great.
Cleveland fixed him.
He was never very good. He was never
mediocre.
very good. And maybe he figured something. Maybe the Guardians figured something out while he was here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Have
This
you
is what
seen
they
the
do.
stat comparison of the 8 starts he made for the Guardians and the 8 starts he's made for the Cubs so far this year? The numbers are exactly the same.
That's incredible.
Pretty much like 1 strikeout difference.
I thought that contract was totally insane.
Yeah.
But hey, if it works out for Chicago, good on them. They are in a position to where they can take risks like that. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't cripple the entire franchise.
Right. That's true.
Like it does here.